MAGA loves Trump's strike, while the majority of the people in this country oppose the strikes on Iran. These liberals are like, Chip, is this what you voted for? And I'm like, no. And they're like, haha. And I'm like, and?
I believe in nothing. I don't care. It's more important to me to see your goddamn liberal tears. I want the memes, all right? That's what this is all about. Yeah, pro-war MAGA.
Dunks on Tucker Carlson after revealing MAGA loves Trump's Iran strike. He doesn't speak for the majority. All right, well, and I say that he's a living meme with all due respect. It's because Harry Enton is always shocked when it turns out the American people love what Trump is doing. We got this video. Let's roll tape.
Republican opinion on this.
Yeah, you know, I think there's this idea, okay, maybe the MAGA base wouldn't necessarily like this. Look, this is Donald Trump's Republican Party. That's what I think is so important to note.
Why did you say the American people? I guess maybe he is this stupid. Literally, it's like, hey, by the way, the majority of the American people approve what Donald Trump is doing. I just know without even Googling it, that's not true. But either way. And then immediately the first thing they cut to is like, so what do Republican voters, registered Republican voters, have to say about what Donald Trump is doing? It seems like they overwhelmingly approve of it. Yeah, again, it's a fucking cult. The whole jank being like MAGA is anti-war. They are populist. They will never support strikes on Iran and whatever the fuck is going on right now. And yeah, rather than be like, okay, I was wrong. I was wrong. That was a very weird phase in my life, and I am now ready to undo the damage that I've done. It's still fucking no. Yeah. Eventually, they will be anti-war and stand up to Trump.
GOP on the U.S. airstrikes in Iran, 76% in the average of the two polls approve, compared to just 18% who disapprove. Now, I will note that is a bit higher than Donald Trump's disapproval rating within the Republican Party, but overall, Republicans are with Donald Trump on this. Tucker Carlson be darned. The bottom line is he does not speak for the majority of the Republican base. The majority of the Republican base is with Donald Trump.
Needless to say, all this could change.
Also, why is that funny? Because, like, doesn't that suck? Wouldn't it be nice if the so-called anti-war right were actually anti-war? So there would be less forever wars? If there's one political party in the duopoly of the United States that actually had a base of people that stand for their beliefs, and like, you know, credit to the percentage of either regular Democratic voters who actually were so disgusted and revolted with what Joe Biden was doing that they hit the streets, that they protested, that they, you know, were doing everything in their power to try and stop the genocide that he was funding and fueling. But in this case, it's just like, yeah, whatever Daddy Trump wants. Yeah.
Depending on whether the ceasefire holds or not, it can become more popular if the ceasefire holds, less popular if it doesn't. But that's where we are right now.
But that's where we are. Initial readings are from a historical perspective. This is quite unpopular.
Hear it.
What did he say? Quite unpopular?
This is quite unpopular.
Hear it. Republican
it sounds like he's saying quite unpopular. So right, so the important thing
that is what he said, yeah, because he's talking about overall in terms of like if you poll all Americans. You saw that YouGov poll that came out pretty recently where it showed like support for it was just at rock bottom. And this is 58 points for attacking ISIS in 2014, minus 11 points for attacking Iran in 2025. Initial polls readings far worse for the Iran strikes. The net approval of the US airstrikes seems like the majority of Americans do not approve. Yeah, because again, I think a lot of them are like, I'm just fucking sick of these endless forever wars. Why the fuck can I afford to send my children to the hospital, but we just have money to send these endless amounts of bombs and tanks and fucking soldiers and fly them over there?
Right now is that while MAGA may be behind Donald Trump largely, you can also see the initial poll here, net approval of U.S. airstrikes on ISIS, plus 58, on Iran, minus 11. So the funny thing is, MAGA loves Trump's strike, dunking on Tucker Carlson, while the majority of the people in this country oppose the strikes on Iran. Now, what I will say is, I don't play these stupid games that everybody wants everyone else to play. These liberals are like, Chip, is this what you voted for? And I'm like, no. And they're like, haha. And I'm like, and? Bro, I don't vote for anybody.
I believe in nothing. I don't care. It's more important to me to see your goddamn liberal tears. I want the memes, all right? That's what this is all about.
Donald Trump or, well, I ain't voting for the Democrats, but like Tulsi Gabbard, for instance. I was a big supporter of her. I don't vote for them thinking I'm going to get 100% of what I want all the time. And some things I think are obviously worse than others.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just like there are some things most people are going to be like, yeah, that's the line I just don't want to cross. You know, doing, say, like a Holocaust, that's just one thing that, like, I just say, yeah, if I voted for a president who started at least and saying that they are just totally down with doing genocides and things like that, yeah, I might have a little buyer's remorse in that case and be a little upset about what is taking place. By the way, in terms of Trump's approval, because I always hear about how much Trump, his approval ratings are through the roof. No, they're not. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, if you look at aggregate polling or any other poll, they are continuously going lower, lower, lower. The average of them, it's currently at 47.2% versus 50.8. That's the average aggregate of all the polling.
Do I regret my vote for Trump? No, because that's got to be the stupidest question one can ask. You could tell me let's say it's Kamala Harris and Donald Trump running for office. And you come to me and you say, here's a crystal ball of the future. Trump's going to bomb Iran. Would you vote for him? I'd be like, yep. Thank you. Have a nice day.
My anti-war right. Yeah, I don't care. It was never about the anti-war shit. Again, I just wanted her to lose. This is epic.
Think I want Kamala Harris to win? Like, Trump would literally...
You just said it.
Trump would have to... You know what? I'm going to avoid saying what I was going to say. I'm stopping myself here before I get in trouble.
Ooh, what were you going to say? Was it rape kids? Because if it was rape kids, I got bad news for you. Yeah. What is too far gone for you to actually call out Donald Trump? How does it, like, I just need to know for this cult shit, where exactly, like, people's extreme loyalties lie. How extreme does it have to be? Yeah, I mean, I know that I said that I didn't really want, more wars in the Middle East, but he's going to do that. Yeah, that sucks. I know I said I wanted a better, more resilient economy, but he just seems to be doing tariff wars that actually don't actually accomplish anything, and he's expending a monstrously huge volume of resources on, attacking our own citizens. I guess you do want the Civil War shit, so you're getting that kind of stuff. What about all the money that he's pouring into fucking Palantir? I am fucking revolted at the fact that so many of these dudes, they built up media empires like Alex Jones, Tim Pool, on this massive fear of government surveillance and overreach, and the fact that there could be some kind of collaboration between tech bros, Silicon Valley, and these really deep machine learning AI systems that are capable of monitoring. That's happening right now. The thing that all of you were so worried about, that you just fucking, that's actually Alex Jones's entire fucking ethos. Like, that is the central part of the majority of what he warns people about and constantly tells them to stay vigilant, buy his supplies, and get ready, because he's the only person willing to tell you the truth about, again, these horrifying elites that are going to be surveilling you. And then as soon as it happens, it's like, Palantir is not as bad as you think. No, I mean, they're small fish. There are a lot of other companies in AI. Yeah, and we shouldn't be talking about this.
Trump would have to do something very bad, very, very bad, for Kamala Harris to look good by comparison. The truth is, I fully expect that if Kamala Harris was president, we would get a much, much worse outcome. She likely would have gotten involved, and she would have done, I'm willing to bet that Kamala Harris would have been like, Israel, what should we do? And Netanyahu's going to be like, we're going to go in there, we're going to bomb, and we're going to take out all their facilities, and then after we do that, we're going to bomb again, then we're going to send troops, and she'd be like, okay.
Again, like, the idea between which of the two genocide heirs would be better is so fucking disgusting. But you can definitely see that Donald Trump has ramped things up. It's the same thing, like, fuck Obama for the endless fucking drone strikes and the massacring of civilians. He's a war criminal. He should be treated as such. Donald Trump comes into power and he ramped those up. The supposed anti-war president, like all of the clowns from the Jimmy Dores to whoever that fucking British dude is, the couch guy who just shows up every now and then wearing a hat and then just spewing nonsense. But either way, George Galloway, is that his name? Glenn Greenwald, Matt Taibbi, every single one of these people who push this idea that Trump is going to be uniquely anti-war. He's the anti-war candidate. Just you get ready. Yeah, anyone who actually lived through Trump's first term and doesn't have, like, you know, the short-term memory of a goldfish is going to be able to tell you that's just not true. He's not an anti-war president. He never was. He ramped up the amount of drone strikes the United States was doing. He ramped up U.S. imperialism. He is an imperialist. What a surprise. A billionaire capitalist imperialist lover of the American flag who pretends to be a Christian is a bad person. The strikes that he had already done on Iran, executing one of their generals. Like, the man is not a peacetime president. And now this is a situation where as soon as he inherited an ongoing genocide in Gaza, what did he do? Things became infinitely worse there. That's when the mass starvation and the Hunger Games and the daily massacre of children is the headlines we have to read and see with our own eyes every single fucking day. Immediately he's like, yeah, we're going to turn it into Riviera. It's going to be beautiful. I just need to do like either an extermination or an ethnic cleansing. And then once everyone is out of there, well, the people, the undesirables, yeah, once the final solution has been achieved, then we're going to build casinos. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be so nice. Oh my God, you're going to love it. It's going to be just like a beacon, a shining star. A Dubai in the middle of what used to be Palestine, now Israel.
Whatever you say. Trump was like, we don't want the war. He does the bombing. Bad, in my opinion. But I will concede. If Trump pulls off this ceasefire, which is feeling shaky, but if Trump can pull it off and they really do stop bombing each other, it will have been an historic success.
What the fuck are you talking about? I feel like I'm huffing glue. Like, you're just sitting there and it's just like, yeah, he fucked up. Things are getting worse. Way more instability in that region. It seems like there's just a constant every day, another massacre, a tragedy, a horrifying thing. But if he can say out loud that he solved this, historic, monumental, we have to give him all the praise. For what? He has no idea what the fuck he's doing if we were to go based on his true socials. I think behind the scenes, he clearly is okay with a lot of the shit that Israel does, because at any given time, if he was actually mad or upset, he could just cut off the fucking supplies. He controls Israel. It's not the other way around. He can choose if he wants to stop giving them bombs, to stop giving them weapons, to stop giving them money. But in this case, it's like, oh yeah, well, I mean, this could be historic. If I go to Al Jazeera, like, live, and if I'm, you know, this is a video that's now uploaded on YouTube later on, I just want to say that as of right now, Trump warns Israel not to attack Iran as the fragile ceasefire holds. President Trump said Israel and Iran have both violated the ceasefire, but he's really unhappy with Israel. Bring your pilots home now. He says it's a great honor to destroy Iran's nuclear facilities and stop the war launched by Israel on June 13th. This is the upside down. Like, if you are believing this shit, you are a fucking mark. The rubes on the right who are sitting there being like, well, yeah, I don't really want the wars, but Trump did Nobel Prize, historic victory. It's incredible what he achieved, right?
For the United States and for Donald Trump. Already people are pointing out that all these presidents have said, we are going to stop Iran from getting a nuke, and none of them actually did anything until Donald Trump.
He didn't have a nuke. Tulsi Gabbard, the week before this all went down, when Israel attacked Iran, was saying that they weren't nuclear capable, that this was not something that you would have to worry about. And then a week later, when that clip goes viral, she's like, I actually retract the things I said and the findings we have observed. They do, in fact, have the nukes, and we are moments away. We have been told for 30 years that there is going to be a nuclear Iran, and that it's going to be deadly and devastating, and we need to do everything in our power to stop them. Benjamin Netanyahu, you can find 30-fucking-year-old clips of him saying this over and over. And hey, guess what? It was also one of the precursors that he was pushing the United States towards going to war with Saddam Hussein and the invasion of Iraq, something that, like, even some of the neocons and some of the right-wingers now can sit back and be like, yeah, that's not great. Not a good thing. I'm kind of upset about that. I find it slightly inappropriate. But yeah, I mean, this is different because Iran, they can have nukes, you know, weapons of mass destruction, as some people call them.
The fear, of course, is that these strikes will lead to a dramatic escalation and instability in the region. If Trump is successful in having taken out Iran's nuclear capabilities, and it does not escalate, wow. I guess he's got a win-win. Do I?
Hey, he did nothing, and it escalated. Were you even paying attention to last night? after Trump announced the wondrous and miraculous historic ceasefire, and every single fucking right-winger was falling over themselves, you know, Charlie Kirk, the greatest peacetime president, he deserves the Nobel Prize. Laura Loomer, he deserves the Nobel Prize. Give that man the prize, cat turd. I'm so proud of the cat turd army. None of you betrayed him. And then half of them were getting mad at Candace Owens and Ian Carroll, being like, you fools, you said that this was going to be a war. Now the peace has begun. And then as soon as, like, I went online, I was like, so what exactly is taking place? Holy shit, Iran just fired a bunch of missiles into Israel. Holy shit, Israel's now dropping a bunch of bombs on Iran. What is this? It seems like Donald Trump said a thing out loud, and MAGA was just like, yeah, oh, juicy, delicious. And now today, he's like, stop, I'm pissed. Trump, you can't just do that. That's not how the ceasefire works. You can't just say it out loud. I declare ceasefire. Oh, what a peacetime president, a hero. He deserves a Nobel Prize. He said words. Like, again, this is the bar that has been set by the pundits, the pundit class of the Republicans and the MAGA crew, by the way. The bar is essentially, Trump says words, we praise. And cycle continue. And it's like, well, what's actually happening right now? It seems like the two countries are attacking. There could be a ceasefire eventually that needs to be brokered between the two countries. Certainly, the U.S. has a monstrous role to play in that. And yes, there was discussions that apparently an agreement was being brokered by Qatar, and this is something that could happen in the near future. That would be great. De-escalation would be good. I would prefer if things de-escalated and didn't increase in their severity. But what the fuck are you giving Trump credit for? Like, Jesus. Thanks, Lance. I make them myself. They're adorable.
Like the idea of bombing Iran? No. Even if they're working on a nuclear program, while recognizing there's a real threat to the enrichment of uranium, I recognize that they've got intel I don't. The bigger problem is if the U.S. gets involved in an ongoing quagmire. That's what we call it, Afghanistan and Iraq, quagmires. Nobody knows what to do. Nobody knows how to get out, and they lie. With Afghanistan, they were like, well, you know, we shouldn't be there, but we really.
Breaking, Al Jazeera, Israel has said that their campaign against Iran is not over. And apparently they said that they're now intercepting drones from Iran. That breaking news as he's talking right now. Like, I think if you want to give Trump credit, give him credit the second that he picks up the fucking phone and cuts Israel off. Then even I, yes, a monstrously huge hater of Donald Trump, will be like, I have to give the man credit. He finally did it. He picked up the phone and he stopped sending bombs to a regime doing a genocide against Palestinians and attacking every one of their neighbors consistently, saying that it is being done preemptively. How many fucking theaters of war does Israel need to be waging, trying desperately to pull the United States in, again, led by a war criminal madman coward who is trying to extend his political opportunism and fucking fled to Greece as soon as missiles started raining on his own population. Like, you could not imagine a more of a revolting creature right now than Benjamin Netanyahu, the wanted war criminal, and to continue to support him, to be like, here are billions of Americans' dollars, your dollars, America, the dollars that at the end of the year, when you're like, the tax man cometh, it fucking sucks, I hate having to give thousands of dollars to a government, and then he just hands them over to Israel. Like, that's fucking disgusting.
You have no exit strategy. Same thing with Iraq. Like, we can't just leave. The whole place will be overrun. Trump was like, I don't care, we're leaving. And then Joe Biden burned it all to the ground. So let me just say, as MAGA supports the strikes.
Yeah, they think the withdrawal of Afghanistan is like the worst event that has ever happened to America. Way worse than 9/11. Yes, honestly. Joe Biden, there's blood on your hands.
Is with the majority of this country. And there is a real risk that Donald Trump faces in regard to these strikes. That -11 is bad news. Bad news for the midterms. There are many people, many Trump supporters who have already said the base is fractured, I'm out, Trump's going to lose. Now, prominent pro-Trump people might be saying, you know what? We won. Get in line. Fall in line. You were wrong. And they're posting things like Candace was wrong and Dave Smith was wrong and Tucker was wrong. And I'm like, well, we don't know that for sure just yet. They're saying, Tim, you were wrong. Okay. I hope I'm wrong. I don't want war with Iran. You think I would rather be like, no, I have to be right. Iran, go to war. No, screw that. I will proudly clap and say, thank God I was wrong. Because these things I fear. We're not out of the woods yet. There's already shenanigans going on with these
There's blood on Biden's hands, to be fair. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like right now, you know how you were watching that Colbert interview, and he was really trying to divide different ethnicities and groups and pit them against one another. You know, Muslims versus Jewish people. Zoran as a Muslim mayor. How in the world are you going to be able to work with both the Jewish community and the Muslim community to reduce the amount of anti-Semitism that is happening? Like things that Stephen Colbert just thought to say. Like, yeah. But anyways, the divide is honestly it's a class divide, and that class divide requires people to fight if they happen to be in, especially if they are in marginalized positions. Get again, you know, minorities to fight each other. Get gay people to fight against trans people. Get them to kick trans people out of the club. There's an LGB alliance, you know, and we have no room for trans people. That makes it a lot easier for people, bigots like Tim Pool, to go after all queer folk, which is why he might appear in an LGB alliance meeting, take a couple photos, be like, oh yeah, you guys are good for now, and then a year later release a skateboard and sell it that says don't be gay, because again, this is about dividing everyone along these lines to ignore the fact that there's clearly a much stronger divide between the people who have power under capitalism, billionaires, multimillionaires, huge massive corporations, how they lobby governments in order to enact what they want to see in the world, how they actually get to manipulate and control governments in such a way that it really erodes democracy in itself. As long as people are fighting each other, they're not talking about that. They're not upset about that, and they're not uniting at that. So in this case, you've got a situation where it's kind of complex for some people because, hey, guess what? Not a lot of Democrats are against, I'm saying politicians, Trump's war with Iran. We did not see the overwhelming majority of Democrats sign on to bills, resolutions, things that can limit his executive power to wage war, things that can prevent him from going to war with Iran. That did get more Democrats than Republicans, literally one Republican to I think 60 Democrats right now. But it seems like the overwhelming amount of Democratic politicians are just kind of trying to play it safe and careful, you know, get myself still politically available for midterm success. But I'm totally fine with going to war with Iran. I have wanted that for a long time. Chuck Schumer is fucking excited for war with Iran. It's why you're seeing so many of the Democrats who, if you want to speculate right now, well, what would Kamala Harris have done? Yeah, I think an argument could be made that she would maybe be a little bit more reserved in the vile atrocities that the United States is both enabling and embedding in that region of the world, for sure. It's why the trolley problem exists in the first place. But what's she saying about this now? Have you checked out her tweets? She hasn't tweeted since Father's Day. So clearly, with a platform, a voice, a lot of people who may follow her, if you wanted to know her position on the topic, she could make it very clear. I do not support Donald Trump waging an illegal war with a country or a nation state that has never attacked us in the first place. Silence. Crickets. Chuck Schumer was mad at Trump and called him Taco Trump and did the whole fucking Trump always chickens out shit because Trump was apparently behind the scenes trying to negotiate another deal with Iran. And he was like, no deals with Iran. They cannot have the ability to go nuclear. Because again, there are a lot of war hawkish Democrats as there are war hawkish Republicans. So there needs to be a definite divide between people who want to see that all end, who don't want to support that. And that doesn't necessarily have to be along party lines because they are uniting in the other direction to just wage the endless wars for the benefit of the military industrial complex, which again is going to pad all of their wallets. It is going to keep all of them rich. Keep pointing that out. It's why it's important for people like Bill Burr to you know be able to message people with that very simple reality, which is that as long as we're fighting each other, we're not fighting billionaires. It's that very clear. As long as we fight each other, as long as we're divided, as long as we keep on going down those lines, then you know the people who are in charge are going to keep doing this shit. It's why there are a lot of Republicans right now backing and promoting Andrew Cuomo and saying do not vote for Zoran. I never thought I'd say this. Laura Loomer had to apologize to God. I'm not making that up. Today, Laura Loomer apologized multiple times to God for saying, I never thought I would say this. Forgive me, Lord, forgive me. But at the end of the day, you need to vote for Andrew Cuomo if you live in New York City. Why is that? Why is there suddenly all of this unity being put behind a Democrat? Because at the end of the day, they want status quo. They do not want shit to get fucked up there. They don't want someone coming in who's going to suddenly reveal to the world that it is possible that you could actually take some of the wealth. Not all of it. You don't need all of it. You can sometimes just take 1%, but you can take some of that wealth and then redistribute it and benefit all of society. And society runs better as a result of that. And if that gets unlocked, if people realize that on a large scale, holy shit, Okay, well, we can't keep being the fucking spineless, feckless Democratic Party that only exists to be slightly less shitty than the other dudes every single election cycle. Hey, I mean, that other guy, he's quoting Hitler. I didn't quote Hitler, so I'm better. Yeah, I mean, well, the bar is really well below hell, if that's where we're going with. It's true, you didn't quote Hitler. Can you also offer things to people, though, and try to do the wealth redistribution and try to stop all of the fucking the corporate executives that are controlling the majority of what people are eating or doing or sleeping? Like, the world is getting perpetually more fucked. I think, yeah, you don't quote Hitler is true, and I would prefer someone who doesn't, so that puts you above your opponent who is quoting Hitler, but you need more than that. And then now there is someone who is offering a fuck ton more of that in a very important race, and you know, attempting to become the mayor of New York in a city where if he actually did some of the policies, like, let's be real, even if Zoran did win, you're gonna have to accept the fact that he's gonna become much more watered down than you would have liked, and that's just the reality of the machine. But if he can get a couple of them done, if he can do something like, say, a free feeding program, a free transportation program, cheaper education, or even like, hey, by the way, why don't we, instead of spending what, 20 billion, or is it 11 billion? $11 billion on the New York Police Department, that's over half of the city's budget spent. That's insane amounts of money, $11 billion. What if we relocated that into services that actually help New Yorkers? You know, social workers who can show up to 911 calls that need someone who is a social worker, marriage counselors who can show up to 911 calls where a marriage counselor is necessary, because a cop showing up with a gun might not be the best person for conflict resolution when you have spouses, domestic abuse, all that kind of shit. So hey, if he does that like other cities have, but it becomes much bigger and much louder, because yeah, there are programs like the Dallas Stars program where they did that. They started diverting a very small amount of the amount of 911 calls that were going in to only police to other emergency services, and it had such fantastic results that despite the fact that it was getting a lot of corporate pressure to be stopped and a lot of pressure from the police unions to be stopped, they had to keep it going, because it was like, I'm sorry, but this just works. It's not like, so we started doing the same thing in Victoria, BC, and now broader BC is trying to do a program where you can call a separate line, not 911, if you need to speak to a registered nurse, for example, which also has incredible success. There's if you live in British Columbia, 811, you can speak to a registered nurse. Sometimes you gotta wait 30 minutes, but hey, you can speak to a registered nurse about anything, and you can actually talk to them about a problem that you might have wanted to have to wait for hours in a hospital or a doctor for, and it can actually be life-saving in certain cases. Are you worried about like the weird bump that you have on your skin? Well, yeah, it's gonna be better to deal with that than all of a sudden someone be like, we gotta send the cops. But what I'm saying here is that that's why you are seeing a lot of Republicans backing Andrew Cuomo, a lot of corporate Democrats backing Andrew Cuomo, and why there's suddenly all of this focus, all of this concentrated focus, because holy fuck, if he actually can do even a small amount of the things that he's saying, people might believe change is possible, and neither party wants that. Democrats don't want that. Republicans don't want that. And by virtue of the Republicans going more fascistic and Nazi all the time, the Democrats get to coast on the fact that they don't quote Hitler, which again, it should just be disqualifying for anyone. It just, that's not even a conversation we should be having. Well, the better person doesn't quote Hitler, and it's like, yeah, okay. But then you shouldn't be able to measure whether or not you are a valid politician based on that. Centrist Voltron is trying to reform for Cuomo. Yeah, I mean, what happened with Joe Biden? What happened when it looked like Bernie Sanders was about to win? What needed to happen? We can't have this. Because if he won, and say he got into power, and yeah, he won't be able to do all of the radical things that he talks about, because at the end of the day, there are a lot of systems and checks and balances in America, so one single person won't be able to do everything. But if he even did some of them, and people got a taste of it, they got a taste of it, we can't undo that. That's what happened in Canada when socialists advocated, first all the way out on the east coast of Canada and eventually on the federal level, for a public healthcare system. That after they achieved that victory, socialists, that monumentous victory of having public healthcare in Canada, every single conservative since that time has tried on some level to destroy or erode it for corporate and private interests in order to benefit private insurance companies. But it's a non-starter for a lot of people. Because so many people are like, oh, fuck, no, I don't want to have to pay money when I go to see the doctor. I don't want that. I already have to pay money when I go to see the optometrist. I already pay money when I go to see a psychiatrist or a counselor. I don't want that for my fucking health reasons. Not teeth. Well, I guess now teeth are kind of included, but still, that the reason why that's so hard to undo and to reverse is because once people realize, holy shit, this works, well then yeah, more people might ask for it. They might ask for more. Imagine that. Imagine all of a sudden people are like, whoa, holy shit, Zoran got elected on a campaign powered by people and not corporate interests. 40,000 volunteers knocking on doors. There is so many more workers in America than there are billionaires or CEOs. There is so many more renters than there are landlords. We actually have power, and we can ask for things, and we can demand them, and we can actually change and reform our society to benefit everybody instead of, again, the 6 white dudes who have half the wealth. Holy shit. Holy shit. Maybe housing should be a human right. Maybe post-secondary education, university and college should be universally free, because then we get more nurses, doctors, lawyers, and yes, theater kids. But either way, whoever comes out of that system would benefit all of us. Maybe we should have cheaper, or dare I say, free food, because the robots can harvest them now. Why don't we do that? Why don't we subsidize a lot of this food? We already do, but it only goes to the benefit of monstrously huge corporations. We're already subsidizing food, by the way, just so you know. Huge amounts of subsidization. Massive. Why do you think a McDonald's burger can cost you a couple dollars? There is huge subsidizations of food, but it again benefits the 11 corporations that produce all of the food we eat. And it's the same corporations sometimes in a lot of different countries as well. That's why you'll have brand names like Oreos and blah, 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 Doritos and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, food. It could be mass produced and subsidized in such a way where, hey, we don't have to throw out half of it anymore every single year. Again, all this stuff, it's things you could start asking for. It's things you could realize you could start asking for. Like there could be a large scale awakening if you pull this off, and then other people learn that, and then they realize they could have the same thing. Why not ask for that? Why not ask for more? Why not ask for something better than this consistent duopoly between the right-wing, fascistically turning now rapidly side of the political aisle, or the neoliberal who wants to maintain status quo, even though status quo is, again, perpetuating wealth inequality and keeping people in other countries bombed by the glorious imperial ambitions of the United States to make sure they, too, don't ever realize that they are getting fucking fleeced. You know, I mean, holy shit. You always hear that lie about how countries in Africa are so poor, you know, whether it's the Congo, whether it's Uganda, they're all so poor. Why are they all so poor? They're very resource rich. They're actually rich as fuck. They're exploited by the West, and they have been historically by empires, colonialism. That's one of those things. A lot of that resource extraction is not benefiting the local population so they can build the schools and the roads and all that kind of stuff. It is going towards, again, the shareholder value of some mining company in fucking Winnipeg in Canada. This is a massive problem. This is the status quo. This is the neoliberal world order. It fucking sucks once you realize it, but you can change. We can all change. That's why you get beaten down so much with the horror, because they want to beat that out of you. They want to numb you to that. Like, yeah, sure, you might be a little bit more stressed and upset when you learn how the world really works. That is true, but you can also change it. You can also realize how to change it, and that's way more scary.
Don't let this happen to you. Go to serfscoffee.com to order the only end-to-end owned indigenous coffee company that delivers blood-free, conflict-free, and cruelty-free beans right to your door. 0% of people who drink serfscoffee.com have exploded spontaneously. By ordering right now, you get 10% off plus free shipping, and it's the best way to enjoy delicious coffee while not exploding. That's serfscoffee.com, serfscoffee.com.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. This video wouldn't be at all possible without the financial support of all the people whose names you see on the screen right now. And if you want to unlock secret bonus episodes, content that we can't post anywhere else, or get the videos early before anyone else gets to see them, please go on to patreon.com/theserfs. For as little as $1, you can help support this channel and help make more videos like this possible. Our executive producers are Anna Loves Riley, Adrian McCarthy, Bobby Lasers, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Garrett Sandoval, Hagbard Saline, Jimmy Sombrero, Multimondi, Omni, Political Papi, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Richard Boehm, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demel, Tigwig, Trav, and Words Greenwood. And also, it wouldn't be possible without all the names you see on the screen right now. Again, if you want to help produce this content, it's only made possible through the funding of our patrons. Head on down to patreon.com/theserfs. That's patreon.com/theserfs.